Hello everyone and welcome back to Old World. We're live with another match in the Old World Community Tournament. 2026 here. We have part 2 of Phielp versus Turius. Maria versus Persia. On a point symmetry coastal rain basin map. Exciting times, exciting times. Just getting myself set up here, making sure my chat is live. Bear with me. Gonna let our friends on Discord know that we are live as well. If you are watching after the fact on YouTube, appreciate you being here. Give us a like, subscribe, leave a comment at some point. Always great to see comments on my videos. Love any opportunity to talk about Old World. There we go. All right, we're up and running. So let's take a peek at where we are at this stage in the game. Let's see if we can't refresh ourselves. I think this game might actually be a couple weeks old, to be honest. Hello, Constant. Welcome to the chat. Thanks for saying hi, buddy. We are getting Phalanx now here on turn 49 for the Persians. And where else are we at? Phalanx on turn 49. We have 45 science per turn. Not the worst, not great, not terrible, but keeping in mind Phielp and Turius, I believe these guys lost their first match. Don't apologize for jumping into discussions. That's what Discord is all about. I love myself a good debate. I know I always seem grumpy on Discord, but trust me, I'm a lot grumpier. No, wait, that's the other way. I'm a lot grumpier than I seem. No, I'm a lot less grumpy than I seem is what I meant to say. I think I've realized recently while reflecting back on this, I'm from New England in the United States. And well, I'm not saying this as if I'm proud of this at all, but I've realized that there is a bit of a culture in my particular region, not all of New England, mind you, but in my particular region where I think we're pretty sassy and we're pretty, we're not afraid, afraid's the wrong word. We love ourselves a good argument, and also we swear a lot, too, I've noticed. All right, so we're looking now at the Marian tech tree. Maria already does have Phalanx, had navigation on turn 44, compared to... Wait, am I on Maria? Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at general science stats while we're here. Maria's about to take a lead here, 68 science to 45, so they're just at their breakaway point. It looks like. They're only about 100, not even 100 science ahead in the overall tech tree. So both players very similar here, but jumping this steady rising curve tells me that Maria is going to start breaking away unless Persia can do something to right the ship here and start ramping up their science. I'm looking across the empire. We don't have any clerics, nations stuff, and our only current increase of science is coming from these two specialists in the next 4 turns. They're both rural, so not a lot. We do not have monasticism, so this disciple will not help us unless maybe we go for a dualism. That could help, perhaps. What would can I see what dualism would do with us easily? No, I can't. All right. So, however, if we hop on over to the Marian side, we have sages. 3 sage cities and a scholar on the throne. Oh, you know what? I think this is actually... we took the throne on turn 36, so let's take a peek here because I've been talking about this. Yeah, here we go. Turn 36 is around here, and then up goes the science rate, and I'm sure we probably settled some of these sages cities. Yep, 1, 2 on 43, 42 and 43. So let's look at that science rate again. 42 and 43, boop, boop. there we go. So people thinking, I've been saying on the Discord that sages and scholars in particular, that synergy seems a little bit much these days, and this literally is the arc of Scholar hitting the throne on turn 36, and a couple of sages cities being founded in the next time frame. Of course, other stuff is also going on. You know, not all. We got the Mojave Holler, which actually doesn't do anything for us yet. Anything else happen that I can do? Adopted Centralization on turn 39. That's another one. That's a good bump. We have a decently cultured city, don't we? Yeah, nearly strong now. But yeah, looking like a dominant position for Maria. Pretty good. Pretty good. We do have Hunters. We're clearing another site down here. It looks like eventually Mario will have their entire side of the map finished clearing before the Persians get to their side of the map, so they can start aggressing or pressuring if they want. Or they could sit back and develop. The Marians have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wonders. So this is another great example of, you know, basically a point of play. Here on turn 50, you have no real reason for the Marians not to sit back and just win the game long term, right? There's no, I think this, not to go on the whole rant, but the discussion that I was having earlier today about forts in particular, but this is irrespective of forts. It will take Maria about another 50 turns, I think, to win this game. By points. Maybe less. Probably, maybe 30 or 40. Right? But realistically, nothing would stop them from doing that in the position that they're in. Also, let's take a peek at their culture. They're going to be developing a strong in 10 turns, and Persia is strong in 16 turns. So they're going to continue getting first dibs on all the wonders. Acropolis, Monumental Buddhist. Monumental Buddhist will help spiking. So basically my issue becomes this, is that eventually one player is just going to win and there's nothing one can do to stop that, which means the game is over. It's turn 50 and the game is over. Now, can surprises and upsets happen? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely it can happen. We've seen those things happen before, but the only way an upset happens in this particular case with Persia is if they end up developing an army and attacking Maria, which brings me to the fort thing. If Maria just spends the rest of their turn, the rest of their game forting every single tile, they lose nothing. There's not an opportunity cost at this point. They have a stronger economy. They can keep spamming wonders. They can keep spamming quarries. Look, they're spamming quarries all along this arid, which is brilliant. You know, I don't know. It's just not for me. I would rather the players actually play against each other. But anyway, that's the end of that rant. I'm not going to stay on it here. Down with forts, said Problem Gambler. That's funny. Yeah. But anyway, back to this game. Let's focus on this game. I'm going to try and do a good job today of actually following along the players and see what we're doing. So 17 orders left on the Marians. Let me close out this chat here. Whoop, doop, doop. And we are building the Yaz. We are building the Jebel. Right. Those are two under construction. So more dominance headed. And we're building the Mojave Howrah. All of these are currently under construction. So yeah. That's fantastic, man. I love the Yaz so much. Would love to see the Stupa get tossed into there shortly. We can't afford it in... Well, actually, if we counseled a couple cities, we could afford it. Oh, wait, no, we don't have this. No, yeah, we do. We can afford it next turn if we counsel a couple cities. Would love to see stuff like that getting threaded into some players' play styles. I feel like in order to, you know, increase timing on certain things, I don't think we see enough players counseling stuff. Like, for example, you could counsel this Trapper, you know, or even this archive. You know, you don't need the archive necessarily in 2 turns. Delay a couple of things in the queues by a turn or two, but what that does is speed up something like a wonder by a turn or two. And that, or the adoption of a law. Speaking of which, what do we have for laws? Only 3 in Moria. Worker. Oh, hey, actually we're seeing a council. That's fun. Cool. There you go. Building a barracks. Our barrack complexes are coming online, and another garrison. How many workers do we have? We have 10. 10 worker units. Is that all workers? Mostly. 10 workers, 1 Buddhist, a disciple. We're getting monasticism in 2 turns, so we can start actually building monasteries, which is always fun. I believe there is a part 1 on this. I actually think I'm the one. Am I the one who streamed it? Let's find out. Let me do a quick look for you guys and see if I can't find that monasticism in 2 turns, so we can start. It's a little old. Was it me? There's so many games, man. There's so many games. Maybe it wasn't me. Or maybe there wasn't a part 1. I don't know. I'm honestly beginning to lose track. We've had more games now at this point in the tournament than we have had in the entire previous season. And that's like in half the time, too. We've only been... And actually, no, that's the third... We started this tournament on July 1st. It's not even the end of August yet, and we've had more games in this tournament than the entirety of the 6-month tournament of last season. Isn't that crazy to think about? And we're only going to get more. The Swiss portion of this tournament alone is something like 100 no. I think 150 is the whole tournament length. The Swiss portion alone... the Swiss portion is like 120 games. And then the championship is only like 30 games. It's crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. So, lots of action to check out here. I feel like Persia took a very quick turn just now. Let's take a look at their order economy. 24 orders per turn. Interesting. Never a good sign when you're Persia and you're falling behind the curve on order economy. I found that interesting about another game recently. It's always interesting to watch the statesman families fall behind in orders from nations that aren't running statesmen. Of course, the Morians have access to statesmen. We just did not run them. I think Hunters was a really good call here. There's lots of camps. And I like to see the trappers coming online, actually, as well. I think that can be useful. Maybe toss a diplomat in here to shave off a turn or 2 by some of our trappers. Maybe instead of the master act... Oh, yeah, this would be... Wait, is this autonomous? Never mind, it's autonomous. I won't give him shit. Okay. I need a better way to identify autonomous cities, because I feel like sometimes when I go on my crazy rants against player decision-making, I find out like 20 turns later that the city was autonomous the entire time. So, I feel a little bit bad about that. And there we go, the Great Stupor next turn. Or 2 turns later, but there it is. So, yeah, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wonders. And again, to highlight the issue that we have here is every single wonder is secured in weak and developing, and the Marians are going to be the first player to strong culture. Which means, if nothing else, they'll secure, hopefully, I think the correct play would be there, would actually... Oh, actually, we don't need the Monumental Buddhist. I mean, we can grab it anyway, but we already have Buddhism. But I forgot about that. Normally, I like to grab the Monumental Buddhist because, A, it's a fantastic wonder, and B, by securing this, you actually get yourself an extra 2 victory points. So that's something to think about with the Marians and their power as well. By having Buddhism, that effectively means the Marians have a 2-point victory lead on every other nation in the game because they get the Holy Site, which is worth 2 VP. And Buddhism is easily the hardest religion to found on its own. And Hinduism, as a pagan religion, does not have a holy site, so it doesn't get... well, it's not a pagan, but as the weird pagan world hybrid, it doesn't have a holy site. So we will get these two wonders, I'm sure. We have 164 stone per turn. No reason to... There's enough of a gap in the center of this map, right? This is enough of a no man's land. And Mario has decent enough scouting as well. Can see where the Persian army is, which I guess this is a little bit worrisome, but not too much. Yeah. So they can play it safe. They can sit back, keep wonder spamming. The laws on Persia are slavery and they have access to centralization and vassalage, but they're a ways away from being able to adopt it because of the civics. And Mario, on the other hand, has slavery, centralization, and serfdom. So another order advantage there as well. And just to sidestep into that premise that I was expressing on Discord today, it's not that I don't think the economic playstyle should not be viable. It's not that. I like that. I like that eco games can be a thing. I like the tension between early aggression versus defensive eco play. I like all that stuff. But my thing is, there should never feel like a moment in the game where only one thing makes sense, right? So for Mario, for example, it's just, in this particular game, there is no reason to not just sit back and eco turtle, right? And I think it's fair to say that playing defense in this game is a lot easier than playing offense. So anything that we can do to kind of level the playing field seems like a step in the right overall direction. Because defending is more order efficient, by far. I mean, actually, that's all what it really comes down. Defending is more order efficient. Alright, let's see what we're going to have. Getting a camel would be fun. Are there even any camels on this map? I always like the monasticism... Oh, there is, right up here. I always love the bonus camel on map scripts that don't have camels, especially against, obviously, opponents who have a horse unique unit, which is what the Persians do, in fact, have. But it can be a fun little surprise. All right, let me catch up with chat. Quite a few of you have popped in. Hello, everybody. We'll do part one of... Oh, yeah, I didn't find the part one on my page, but I think there was. And if there wasn't, well... I feel like this game is familiar to me. I'm really curious about that. Let me take a look. Part 2. No? Yeah, it doesn't look like we have a part 1. So maybe this is it. Okay, so I'm going to amend that. Or maybe I'll keep it. But, yeah, I'll amend the title. And, oh, gross. Okay, yeah, I'll amend the title. We'll figure out a way to deal with that. Because I don't like confusing people who come from the future to watch these games. I don't want them to be like, where the hell is part 2? So I'll change the title on that. Or part 1, rather. Alright, so anyway, 71 science now. We still need to make a decision on our technology. We are building a granary. Look at it, this amazing growth. I love a city that looks like this. You can do your double granaries, triple granaries, really, because every granary will be a double growth resource in the city. That's wild. That's wild. What a fantastic city. What a fantastic city. Also, this is my other issue with sages. Look at this. 1, 2, 3 scholars. Which, you know, on their own, they don't really do much. But once they're inside Sage's city, like, this is not an impressive city. Right? But this scholar's still adding in 3.2 science. What's another good example? Oh, probably the... Actually, we don't have a scholar here. We have a diplomat. Another 3.2, another 2 science. I don't know, a lot of science on the Sage family, which is fine. They're cool. I get having a, you know, a science family. But lots and lots of tempo there. Barracks being built, come up online in Pataliputra, the capital. More quarries coming online. How many workers? We have 10, I said? Oh, now we have 12. Yep, 12 workers. Great. And enough orders to run them all. Barracks. Garrison. Persians are backtracking to the final Vandal site. Let's hop on over to Persia. So Persia has like half the orders of their opponent at this stage now. No. 12 orders left. 37 to 25 is a bit rough. Let's look at some other stats. Food is in favor of Maria. Iron is actually in favor of Persia. Stone is vastly in favor of Maria. 165 to 62. And wood is only +2. I wonder where that's coming from. Probably a bonus, or maybe a marshland farm? Yeah, we have a marshland farm right next to a granary. Love to see it. Love to see it. Always a little nice addition to the economy there. You know what? Maybe I did. Maybe the thing that's confusing me about the part 1 thing is I think I did actually watch some of this, but I wasn't able to catch. I think I spectated or checked in on it by the end. Maybe they were wrapping up, and I just poked my head in to see how the game was going, and I took a look around before they ended. Maybe that's what's confusing me. Another law is available. They can get the Marians can get monotheism or polytheism. Let's see what are the wonders in the game we can get for legendary, rather. The Heliopolis is on the board, as well as the Colosseum, as well as the Chittagong. And, yeah. Hagia Sophia could also be fun as well. I mean, at that stage, it's not even going to matter. At that stage, the game will just be over. Fun times. Compo now in 4 turns. Nice. 200 training per turn. By the way, our scholar is pretty cool. He's got intelligent, he's bold, music lover, crazy stats across the board. 5, 1, 4, 4. Pretty, like, nothing outstanding, you know, not like 10 wisdom or something, but 4+ in nearly every stat is pretty solid. And he is only 42 years old. We are double tutoring our commander child, who now has 3, 1, 2, 3 in terms of stats, so looking pretty good on him as well. I'm gonna guess we've been double tutoring him for a while now. I always forget to tutor my heirs. I know it's good, but I always forget. Too many things to do. Persia does not have the laws for UU timing, and they do not have the civics, even if they did have the laws. In fact, if anyone's going to get a UU timing at this point, we'll have a 6 strength unique unit going down at around, well, I suppose it would be about turn 50-ish, or 60-ish rather here, because we're building our strongholds. Our first stronghold now in Jogada. We can get another stronghold up and running in Taxila. And we have Pataliputra that can get a stronghold, as well as Barat. And Barat can import elephants. So really, honestly, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 cities that can run elephants, which is pretty much all you really need when it comes to unique unit spamming. If we really wanted to get greedy, we could probably spread some border up here and swap this into a different city, but we don't even need to do that. Let's actually, in fact, let's look at the power score. I haven't even checked it out. Power is also advantage Maria slightly at the moment. They do have a lot of spears, however, and Maria has plenty of axes, so they're net advantage to Persia at the moment, I would say. In fact, that could be interesting if Persia just launches, although you do have sentinel slingers. Well, they're always risky to attack into, but there's lots of woods here. It'd be interesting if Persia could just launch a bunch of axes across the map. Probably not the thing you want to do, though, with 4 laws under your opponent's command. Double victory is not enabled in the tournament, by the way, Lord Tolkien. One of the reasons why that is, and this kind of goes back to a little bit of my ranting earlier, is that, you know, especially in the head-to-head matchups, I think the overall intent is to have some level of conflict between the players. And even if it's not specifically about, you know, winning through conquest or battles, you know, I think the overall goal is to make sure that there's tension between the players. Like, I would even argue in this particular map, I feel like maybe we're about 10 tiles too wide here in terms of this center divide between our 2 players, because this is a vast amount of territory that doesn't really lend itself to much conflict. But anyway, the tension zones are helpful, or the creating tension in the game is helpful. And the issue with the double victory, I suppose, it's two-sided. On the one hand, this game's pretty much over. So I guess this would save us 50 turns. However, it can be pretty easy to get into this position. And a different player in a different circumstances in Persia's department could be focusing all their resources, and civics, mind you, not in wonder spamming, but at this time on turn 54, maybe they're close to 7 laws, and they're about to launch a bunch of 8 strength units at Moria. So that, in this particular situation, would actually not go very well for Moria if Persia was actually able to do that, or, you know, any other faction. So the eco wonder spamming game is definitely a viable thing that we don't mind having in the tournament, but being able to end the game in half the time because of the double victory doesn't necessarily feel fun. But I don't know. Always worth a discussion. See what the community thinks at large. I think it probably wouldn't feel great, but I suppose I played tons of multiplayer games with double victory enabled, and I don't necessarily mind it, but it can feel like it's already, in this particular game, it already feels like Persia has pretty much no hope of winning. So again, that could be an argument for the double victory. But the flip side of that is, without double victory enabled, there's still, however slight, an opportunity for Persia to get themselves back into the game. You know, and I think what we're seeing here in this particular case is just a skill issue thing, perhaps, or maybe like other things like luck. You know, if we didn't watch the first half, I don't know what events or circumstances led to Maria's situation that they're in. But anyway, and so as a little bit of an equalizer for that, there's you know, create more space for you to try and get yourself back into the game. Let's see what we can see. Getting some promotions down south here. Promotions and lots of generals for the Marians, which is nice to see. Commander, Zealot, Commander, Tactician, Swift Tactician, that's cool. Be curious if they decide to tango with the Persians. Again, they don't really have to, but another way to look at that, we actually get... Oh, I didn't even notice this. Politics. There is a political crisis in Persia. Good lord. Okay. None of this is like a rebellion. So This is just because we have a hero versus a builder, Persian paganism. Everybody following Persian paganism. We have Zoro as the state religion. Gross, gross, gross. We have a disappointed oligarch, another disappointed oligarch, and another... Oh, okay, no. We have 2 disappointed oligarchs, so 2 out of 3. And, yeah, wow. That is just viciously awful. Poor Persia. So maybe now would be a decent time for Mario to come say hello and see what's going on. 3, they're not even upset, they're angry. Is it 3 angry families? Or it's 1 upset family and 2 angries. Crazy. Meanwhile, politics and Mario, and I find that this is usually a trend. I almost always have perfect opinion in Mario, and I'm not 100% sure why that is. And it doesn't even matter if it's a situation like this where I have multiple different religions. We have a Hindu, a Buddhist, and, oh, well, I guess another Hindu religion, and yet my opinion is pretty fine. And Tom saying Persia seems to be losing to itself. That certainly is a thing that happens in this game, that's for sure. If you're not managing things correctly, it can often feel like you are your own worst enemy. In fact, sometimes I joke that more often than not, I beat myself. And mostly because I just try to do crazy strategies a lot. But, of course, not to diminish any of the people who have beaten me. Played a lot of great players lately, and tons of players are even getting better. It's been really cool, and that's my favorite thing. I played a lot of games, practice matches with Zoffister, and I don't think he won something like the first 5 or 6 matches that we played, and now he's won the last 2 games that we played, which is really, really cool. I always love practicing with somebody who I beat a lot, and then getting to a point where they start beating me. I think that's really, really cool when that happens, in particular. Obviously, facing off against good players is fun and challenging, but I kind of like to watch the progression of the newer or less experienced players coming in and getting better and better as they play. It's always fun to see. Two science now per turn for the Marians. Going for oh, right, yeah, so probably just going to hyperfixate on training. This ballista, if we grab it, could also probably be used to end the game, to be totally honest. A ballista and a couple of 6-strength elephants. That could be enough to end the game, I think. Especially since Persia has mostly axes and very few spears. They're building more axes at the time. They did get phalanx a moment ago, but are not queuing up any spears. That could be an issue for them. What's the rebel chance? No, nothing. Did we adopt freedom? No. No rebel chance there. 15% rebel chance in riders' families. Ooh. 10%. Oh, there's a slum there. Okay. So 10% in riders. I'm confused. Yep, and 10% is statesmen, not factoring in any slums. We will be clearing the final Vandal site shortly. We have a 10-turn settler. Gross. That's a ways away. But I suppose... Look at this level. Whoa! Oop. Sorry, there goes my microphone. My bad, guys. Look at this level of development here. Kermanshah, right? This is the same city that the Marians have that has the 4 Sargam resources. If we go across the way here, all of those are already improved with a granary and the pasture, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm ignoring the temple because that came from the Jebel. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 high-value improvements, and then another pasture. So 6 improvements total, 5 of which are pretty high value relative to what the city has the ability to output and offer. Comparatively, on the other side of the map, 3 mines. So half the level of improvements, and I would say these are relatively low value compared to what this city can output. Yeah, interesting. Especially because our metal is pretty solid, I guess. Yeah, no, this is only amounting to about 20% of our metal output, which isn't the worst, but I don't know. The food is the highest. Oh, actually, stone is now the highest costing thing. Yeah, so it might make sense to get those sorghum resources online. This barley is not online, and yet we have 2 barley, a granary, and a farm. Yeah, just generally overall, this farm right here, actually. Generally overall, better economic and more efficient output. In fact, let's take a peek at the overall economic stat in terms of improvements controlled. 73 improvements for the Marians and 41 for the Persians. But it's not just, that's not actually a massive difference, to be fair. Still not great, not ideal. But the other issue that we have with that, though, is more efficient improvements grabbed. Like, so all of this great growth resources and food resources in Persia, not really grabbed, not really improved. Conversely, you have all of that good stuff improved, and then probably the other 20%, or the other, 15 improvements that the Persians don't have are all these quarries. And of course, the 5 wonders. We did just hit strong in Pataliputra. Free Assault Elephant. Wow, that's a shitty discard pile, though, I have to say. Free Horse Archer, Free Ballista, and Free Assault Elephant are all in the discard, so odds are we'll have to compete. I think the worst possible flop would be Free Ballista versus Free Assault Elephant. I personally like Horse Archers now. So always fun to grab one off of Comp Bow. But obviously, I think you'd probably grab the Ballista, and then of course you'd grab the Assault Elephants. If it were competing with the Horse Archer. So. Yeah, that's me chewing the broomstick, and it still is actually a broomstick. Not a broomstick, it's a mop handle, by the way. Just to be clear. Alright, Archer upgrade. Oh, that's why we do combo. That's nice. Our fancy early slingers that have some promotions and generals on them are now archers. Oof. Yeah, I think we're pretty close to a timing attack, my friends. Get these slingers down here, upgrade them. And again, what's fun about this, and this is my issue, right? Mario can go attack and end the game. But I dislike the idea that they don't even need to. I dislike the idea that they could just spend 60 turns playing SimCity and casually ride out the game. But maybe I'm looking for something a little bit different in my duel meta. And that's okay. Different players like different things. Yeah, more archers up north. Fun to see. We're going to have to start focusing on wood economy soon. Interestingly enough, because we have Spoked Wheel in the hand, and we're grabbing that instead of Polis, which could help our wood economy as we move up towards forestry. However, there is enough, if we are going for a mid-game push here, there is enough wood on this map in all of these locations that you can just chopping spree yourself until the end of the game. There is more than enough wood on this map to last the Marians until the end of the game if they're going for a quick timing, to be totally honest. Especially with disciples. You can send a disciple out to the Peloponnesian. What did that say? Maquis? I don't know. I don't think I know what that word means. So if anybody knows what this word means, feel free to enlighten me. Otherwise, I'll just Google it later. But yeah, you can send a disciple out to here, chop all this stuff. Chop all the Hamada mangroves down. Everything around Cortur Lake. Yeah. Plenty, plenty, plenty. And, of course, we know the Mauryans have the orders to do it. We've had some pastures come online for the Persians, which is going to be really nice for our order economy. Monasticism being grabbed, and we're clearing up the last of the rebels in Parsa. Always crappy to have rebels popping up in your capital. Aaron says, Marquise? I'm probably not even pronouncing it. Kind of Mediterranean sort of forest. Aaron says, a dense evergreen shrubland found in the Mediterranean region. Solver informs me it is a kind of Mediterranean sort of forest. Well, here you go. Fantastic. Always love to learn something new. It's one of my favorite things about playing these kinds of games is I feel like half of the things I know has probably just come from playing strategy games, which is either really, really cool or really, really sad. I'm not quite sure. Oh, wow, man. 224 training in the Mauryan Empire. What are we spamming, by the way? Oh, tutor. We're just spamming tutor. What else can we spam? Anything good? Not really. Conversions, actually, if we want. Learning things is not sad. No, learning things is not sad. Learning things is fantastic. So, sort of forest like a moth handle is sort of a mic stand. There you go. I get it. I have a full understanding of the Mediterranean Maquis then. Fun. Right. This would be a great land consolidation map, by the way. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 groves right here in this corner among these two cities. This is one of the reasons why I am very much happy that we ditched the previous tournament format of just the 3 map scripts, because I feel like Coastal Rain Basin and Inland Sea in particular are basically just grove central, which, I mean, we still have plenty of other scripts that pop out a bunch of groves. There's 2 more up here, at least, so that's 10 groves. 11. Yeah, 11 on each side. At least 11 groves on each side. Yes, and there's plenty of other scripts that churn out a bunch of groves, but I feel like some of them are more hit or miss. Like the Dota map script, some generations seem to churn out a bunch of groves, and other generations seem to have barely any groves. So I think that's a little bit cooler, but the Coastal Rain Basin map almost always has just dozens and dozens of groves. That's probably an exaggeration, but, you know, here we are. Going down with the barracks now. See, this is what I don't like about this, by the way. We did mine barracks. We could be finished with all 3 of these Sargam resources, and why that would be good is because I think this is actually the 2nd disciple we're building in Kermanshah. So if you, especially, like, honestly, as far as all the possible cities that your holy city could land in, a 3 or 4 growth resource city, it pretty much doesn't get much better than that, right? Because you're going to be building growth units to either build disciples, found theologies, or spread your religion, right? So this is the location that you want. However, we're not actually utilizing it strategically because we have not improved any of the growth resources, and doom comes to the old world in the form of a sandstorm. Not really a lot of impact there, but it's there nonetheless, and one of my favorite graphics. Yeah, so bit of a miss here, because honestly, this is great synergy. I don't think I could pick a better city in the Empire, except maybe Passagard, that I would want my holy city to land in. And yet, we're not utilizing the growth. So, keep that in mind, Turius. If you happen to rewatch this and look for tips, try to get this growth online and then leverage it. Also, we have 3 rider cities. You could use this. Actually, you could, if these farms were online, you would also be able to build a quicker settler. And yeah, this is the other thing that I don't understand. We're building a quarry in it here while building a settler. We're getting this growth resource online. Could maybe, I think so, right? Maybe shave off at least 1 turn from the settler. So there's a little bit of minor synergies there. Minor efficiencies, rather, that we're missing out on. And I think that's the type of stuff that's going to lead to different tempo shifts between the players. Because, again, we have every possible growth resource we can see, even including this one, by the way. In fact, I think we were just building that quarry, so same thing. This player, Phielp, put the farm online first and then the quarry. Whereas Turius is doing the quarry and then the farm, which on its own might be fine, except for the fact that we're also building a settler. So, if you're building a settler, you definitely want to build the growth resource. Maybe you don't have to start with the growth resource. Like, I guess, whatever, who cares? Depends on what you're doing, but you're building a growth unit. So, something to think about. Garrison coming online. More orders. Barracks. Stronghold up and running with elephants. 10-turn assault elephant, but, I mean, we are Mario. We might as well just civic rush it indefinitely. We have Zenobia on the throne, though. God, what a beautiful woman. 5 wisdom, 4 charisma, 4 courage, 4 discipline. Inspiring, bold, educated, and a rising star. Judge version, not the diplomat. Although I suppose if I were going to have her as a Grand Vizier, I would prefer the diplomat version. But she's fantastic nonetheless. She's perfect in every way. She can run my empire anytime she wants. My favorite thing is when you get to marry her. That's probably my favorite development in any game. I love marrying Zenobia. Another stronghold coming in, Taxila, which would be a 7-turn assault elephant. So good thing that we got the ranges online, well, the compo online, because that's going to help speed up those elephants. We can get a couple of ranges up and running. Of course, Zenobia seeing fit to build a priest instead of an officer can be a bit vexing. Alas, it is what it is. Didn't they buff these recently? Or is that not until next patch? I think they buffed these guys recently. Stronghold, barracks. Stupa coming out soon. That's going to be 2 civics in every city. Oh, God, my favorite combo in this entire game. Yadalakaya and Great Stupa. 2 civics in every city, plus 20% in every city. So that's basically, with no other civic bonuses, that's an increase of 4 civics across the entire empire. 4 civics per city across the entire empire. That's just amazing. That's amazing. Priest buff is on test. All right, thanks, Solver. Yeah, not really sure how much that will change them, but, whatever. Oh, they also, the opinion that they changed, too. Plus, they doubled the opinion output, so that actually might be handy, in fairness. But, of course, none of that matters with the Monumental Buddhist in the game. Just build that, and you'll never have religious opinion issues again. In fact, one thing that you could do, if you really wanted to, both these cities are riders. A little bit of micromanagement border gore, if you want to call it that. You could buy all of these tiles to this mountainside and build the Monumental Buddhist right here. Just swap all of these tiles all the way down here. Since you have both of these cities as riders, you would take no opinion penalties. And Solver has lied to me, and I've been betrayed. It is on main already. Alright, well, I can't tell what I'm looking at. Whatever, who cares? I don't care. I never build priests anyway. Monasticism now in 8 turns. Axes are moving forward. We would only do 4 damage to these commander spears. 6 damage to this zealot. That's rough. How much would we take in return? 8 damage! Oh, man. Politics is so good, man. That's my favorite thing about this game. One of the many, of course. But I love how just your political standing in your empire can shift the scales for or against you. This is an Axeman. This is a unit that is specifically tailored to counter this unit. But because of generals and political opinion, we're doing 4 damage. And without the commander bonus in return, we do 8 damage to these guys. What? What? Counter what? Yeah, man. Persia is boned at the moment. We just need a couple of assault boys to be ready. Maybe start building roads down and just come to... How do you say this? Ctesiphon? Tesiphon? I don't know. Yeah. And, you know, party. Go party in Persia. Yeah. I love this game. What can I say? Of course, it doesn't sound like it on Discord half the time, but, you know, what can I say? I am hard to please, I guess. Free assault elephant in 2 turns. That is a... Oh, no! We got the free ballista, too! That's the worst possible hand you could get. Of course, we go with the elephants, but the ballista is always... It's always heartbreaking to pass on the ballista. I've been getting very into micromanaging, like, as soon as I'm getting close to either developing, or if I'm on, like, compo and I'm about to get, you know, about to finish it and get that free ballista in the deck, I always check one or the other. I was like, oh wait, compo's almost finished. How close am I to strong? And where am I in the pile, the draw pile, the discard pile, all that stuff? And I try to like math it out of like, am I going to put 2 high value bonus cards into the discard pile right now? And I might actually delay what I'm researching slightly if it's not a decision that I want to be faced with. Pretty good scouting on the Marian part, I must say, though. Could probably afford to use one more scout out here, maybe in this general region, but you can see all the axes. You can see the north side. Looks like we are going north with our forces. This is great for the Marians, mostly because their order economy is so much better. We have 51 order... Jesus, good lord. What happened? Oh, monasticism? Man, now we have twice as many orders as our opponent. And this is where it becomes really GG in any context, whether you're fighting wars or whatever, because Problem Gambler did this recently in his tournament match. His thinking was, even if you're trading poorly, just keep getting your opponent to spend orders, because if you're both spending 20 orders per turn, but one player only has 10 orders, you know, in a combat zone, but one player only has 10 orders to use after the fact, and the other player has 25 orders to use after the fact. Well, then the aggressing player, even if trading poorly, even if not actively like winning battles, is actually coming out ahead long-term economically, because they're forcing their opponent to keep wasting their orders, killing units that are just going to keep coming. Yes, this is a great example of the Mario Snowball, and we don't even have Statesmen. It's just Sages. It's just Sages. Strong Sages seat after the Riders' Capital. And then 3 Sages nations, cities much later. This was turn 32, I believe. It was founded, Tasali. And these 2 cities were founded in the early 40s. But yeah, pretty solid all across the board here from the Marians. 61 orders by turn 60. 115 science by turn 60. Phielp seems like it took his loss to Frederick personally and said, no, I'm gonna do well in my next match. Of course, Frederick is a tough beat for your first competitive tournament match, as he is an incredibly experienced and skilled player. But it looks like Phielp is doing quite well in this match. He actually did pretty good in his previous match, too. Just had made a couple unfortunate early tactical decisions that ultimately cost him in the long run. But he came back pretty reliably. If he didn't make those early mistakes in his in the first half of the game against Frederick, I think could have been a little bit more competitive, that match, to be honest. Yes, and of course, highlighted by Solver, we have 120 science at this point. I'll turn 60, and there aren't even any groves up. But, you know, Sages is fine, right? We're just getting 10 science per city from every single... Well, actually, we're getting 10... Never mind, we're getting 10 science per city from nearly every city. But the first two cities, Patalaputra doesn't really count, because that's a capital. That's always going to be high. Tusali and... the 3 Sages city were actually the last 3 cities settled, I believe, right? Let's look at the last 3 cities settled. 1, 2. Yep, the last 3 cities settled, all settled after turn 30, were the Sages cities. And the Sages cities have more science than every other city except for the first 3 cities in the game. Which, I mean, I guess that's what it's supposed to do. We also, don't forget, we do have a scholar on the throne. An intelligent scholar, no less. So lots of great synergy there as well. And while I was minding my business, looking over the marvel of science, I missed the fact that Maria is, in fact, aggressing. So this is going to be decisive. This is a really great push here. That's 6 archers. Love to see this come down to archers. I feel like the archer rush in particular is not heavily explored this season, and it's pretty powerful. In general, archers can be a chore to deal with. Especially a lot of them. Get a couple of spears nearby as well to help protect against any potential routes. Yeah, Zadrakarta should fall quite handily. I would have probably killed this worker just to start damaging that opinion even further. It looks like our Persians have... Oh, actually, no, it's still bad. Angry family, yeah. Wow. Yeah, not a great time. Angry versus friendly. It's just not a good time. Friendly is 10%, angry is 10%, so yeah, there's a 20% combat difference. Well, actually, I guess a lot of these are sentinels, so most of them are just cautious. So only a 10%. 10% or 20 on the riders. So yeah, let's take a peek here. These axes can only do 5 damage to these spears, and they take 5 in return. So they're running even. More rebels. Wow, Solver. I actually love that so much. Angry versus friendly should be the podcast name for me and Alcaris having a podcast. 1000% I agree. Alright, EQCR asking a strategy question. Is there a good solution for Persia's family problem? Yes. It's complicated. It'll take a bit. But yes. The solution, let's hop back to Persia. So the solution is to influence this guy or make him your chancellor. Making your chancellor would be the easiest thing because it would happen immediately. The opinion boost. That would get him pleased. Getting him pleased allows you to convert your 3 heads to Zoro. This family should actually swap on its own, I think. No, that's tied. Yeah, so converting this oligarch to Zoroastrianism will convert this family to Zoroastrianism. And then look at this. Paganism is minus 141. Zoroastrianism is plus 131. If you combine that, That is a that is a nearly 300 opinion swing from from this to the other. That would put us into the green most likely from the position that we're in now. So basically, the long story and short of it is that the Persians, for the last however long that they've had opportunities to deal with this patriarch who seems to like us, we're both builders, right? Yeah. Should have been focusing on trying to get his families converted over to Zoro. Let's take a peek here. The Hunter's family would be the hardest one to do. And Zadrakata Falls, by the way, as of course it would. Carnage! High hazard. Of course, his hero is about to die. It's a sorry. What were they saying? Yeah, the hero versus builder is also not ideal. So maybe if this hero dies, we'll be in a little bit better position as well. Also, the Marians have stolen a holy city, which is not ideal. Looks like we probably killed the worker, too, which is nice. So that's going to be even more. Yep, failed to protect our workers. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Yeah, so I'll keep an eye on the action now. Looks like the Marians are going to try and say hello down here in Champa. Not the Marians, the Persians. Although they don't have the orders to do both. So that might not be a good idea. This could be a pretty quick session, to be honest. Your opponent has 6 wonders. Also, the Jebel and the Stupa are the 2 order-generating wonders. So you have lots of synergy there. Jebel and Stupa synergize, and Stupa and Yaz synergize. And of course, the Pyramids is also an order and civic wonder. So we have 3 order wonders and 3 civic wonders. And that's just disgusting. And of course, nothing better than having all of the civic wonders when you're Mario, because you have the best civic eco, arguably, in the game, since all of... Let's not forget that these... Assigning governors... not governors. Assigning council position is also half off for the Marians. There's only 50 civics to assign these guys, as opposed to the usual 100. Conversion is another thing that's super easy to do. Lots of other fun stuff, too. Could probably just afford to rally troops indefinitely if they wanted to, but it looks like we're just tutoring everybody in our empire. We are getting the horse archer. Love to see it. That should be worth it. Alright, let's see how the Persians do here. Another... Man, this is a bummer, man. The rebels are really... Oh, we have Turius. Turius and 2 families. That is a 40%... No, 30. A 30% combat swing. Max is asking, how did Persia end up so behind? Lack of efficiency. Alright, Persia's moving into Champa, trying to do some damage. What's funny is that they scouted ahead, but look how perfectly positioned these spears are. That is amazing. The Persian player actually did the right thing here and took a peek ahead, but just missing 1 tile worth of units. This is so cool and so funny. I feel so bad for Persia. He's about to get wiped out. That's all of his orders. And it's going to go to the Marians in a moment. That's really funny. Question was, how did Persia fall behind? Just a lack of efficiency. I went over it a few minutes ago where it looked like the Persian player wasn't being efficient with things like its resource improvement. Lots of growth resources online in the Marian Empire. Not so much for the Persians. Of course, when you have sages, you're going to get that science tempo pretty easily as well. But honestly, they were behind in science for a while. So Is this a 1-1 matchup? I don't think so. I think this is a 0-1 matchup. I think this is round 2 in the Euro division, right? Let's take a peek. Yes, this is the second round in the Euro division, so both players are facing each other, facing off against each other after a loss. Phielp and Turius both lost their first match. This is only their second match. This is one of the last matches in the second round of the European division, or the Old World division. And Klaus Koala and Mojo are the last match that we'll need to wrap up. And that should, I assume, that should wrap up in 1 or 2 more sessions. All right, not quite every unit dead, but certainly a bunch of them. I think we could have Zoc-locked these guys better. Oh, nope. Stompy Boy in the field. Chunk. Chunk. Oh, do I not have my graphics? Hopefully we don't have that bug still. With the repeated movements. But I love watching these things walk around. At least when I'm streaming. Oh, and that's it. You called it silver. That's the game. All right. Pretty brief session. Only streaming for about an hour. Wow, yeah, not too bad. Well done, Maria. Well done, Phielp. Crazy econ. Let's see if we want to get these guys into Hanging Gardens with a post-game chat. All right. Let me get myself set up here. Well, Jason, you're just in time for the end. This matchup is over. Let's see what are. Oh! Alright, so we have a good night, everybody. So the host is backing off. Alright, that's fine. Give them a second if they want. Lost connection server. Let's do some final recaps on some fun stats for this game. Units lost. Persian, and sometimes that's all it takes. Persian only lost 5 units. It's always fun to me to look at the endgame stats, even in some of my own games, and realize like a battle only consisted of like 12 units, or it only came down to 4 or 5 kills. 14 technology to Maria to 11 from Turius. Not too huge a difference overall. But yeah, they definitely were pulling ahead. Nearly twice as many improvements. Nearly twice as many work returns. Of course, 6 wonders to 0. 4 laws. And then the big thing for me is the massive order economy that we ended up with on turn 62. 64 orders on turn 62. That's pretty great. Really great map for it, though. Let's not forget that lots of good hunter camps. Alright, so it doesn't look like we're going to get a post-game chat from our people. That's quite alright. So I'm going to go ahead and close out this stream. thank you guys very much for tuning in. And, yeah, as always, I'm Scientific. This is the Old World Community Tournament. Tune in for more games coming up this weekend. And of course, if you're watching after the fact on YouTube, appreciate you being here. Give us a like, subscribe, leave a comment, and hop on to the Old World, Mohawk's Old World YouTube channel for the playlist and all of the crazy games that have been played so far. All right, see you around, guys.